Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Sri Radha Charity Prabhupada Satya Sri Srimad Bhagavatam Grace Hyderabad Sharanagari Bhakti Vedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Swami Founder Sharanagari Divine Grace Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Samavata Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Grantaraj Bhagavatam Ki Jai Jai Gaur all glories to be assembled devotees. All glories to be assembled devotees. All glories to be assembled devotees. All glories to see Guru, to see Gauranga. All glories to see Guru. Om Ajnanatirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Daksharamilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sakitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swakarantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vidam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalitam Sri Vishakambikam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptaka Salagourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Devi Vansakalpatrubhyasya Siva Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayana Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha badrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Uttama-shloka Charitam Sakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyayanam Mahat. The Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Om Sarabhyay Namaha 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 Mukhaṁ karoti vāsavam tvāṁ gurnāṁ gāyate Yakripātamaham bhande Sri Gurum Dinataram Yakripātamaham bhande Sri Gurum Dinataram. Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhagavatam class. We are continuing from 11th canto, chapter 3, entitled Liberation from the Illusory Energy. And today we're looking at text number 4. Evam Sristani Bhutani Pravistah Pancha Dhatubihi Ekadha Dasadatmanam Vibhavan Vibhajan Jushate Gunan Evam Sristani Bhutani Pravista Panchadhatubihi Ekatha Dasadatmanam Evajan Jushate Gunan Evam Sristani Bhutani Pravista Panchadhatubihi Ekatha Dasadatmanam Evajan Jushate Gunan Evam Sristani Bhutani Pravista Panchadhatubihi Ekadha Dasadatmanam Vibhajan Jushate Gunan. Evam Sristani Bhutani Pravishta Panchadhatubihi Ekada Dasadatmanam Vibhajan Jushate Gunan Evam Sristani Bhutani Pravishta Panchadhatubihi Ekada Dasadatmanam Vibhajan Jushate Gunam Evam Sristani Bhutani Pravishta Panchadhatubihi Ekada Dasadatmanam Vibhajan Jushate Gunam Evam. In the manner just described, Sristani, created. Bhutani, the living beings. Pravistaha, having entered. Panchadhatubihi, created by the five gross elements. Earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Ekadha, one-fold, as the overseer of the mind. Dasadha, tenfold, as the overseer of the five senses of perception. As the overseer of the five senses of perception and five organs of action. Atmanam, himself. Vibhajan, dividing. Jushate, he engages. He causes the individual soul to engage. Gunan, with the material modes. Translation purport by disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The supersoul enters material bodies of the created beings, activates the mind and senses, and thus causes the conditioned souls to approach the three modes of material nature for sense gratification. Kindly repeat after me. The super soul enters the material bodies of the created beings, activates the mind and senses, and thus causes the conditioned souls to approach the three modes of material nature for sense gratification. Therefore, the following is a summary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentary on this verse. The one super soul enters the gross material elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and uses the activated material mind to subtly divide the sensory activities of the conditioned souls among the five knowledge acquiring senses: the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, and by a further gross division, the five working senses: the hands, legs, speech, genitals, and anus. Because liberated souls have a strong tendency to serve the Lord, they are not attracted by the dualities of material good and evil. They derive their pleasure through devotion and love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who eternally enjoys His own transcendental pastimes beyond the material manifestation. When the conditioned soul forgets their loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they develop illicit desires. Therefore, unable to serve the form, taste, fragrance, and other aspects of Lord Vishnu, these souls become bound to the bitter fruits of fruitive activities. But if their love of Godhead is somehow or other awakened, the conditioned souls can dovetail all their sensory activities in the service of the Lord's transcendental pastimes. Actually, all materialistic activities are most undesirable. But the conditioned soul, under the influence of illusion, sees apparent distinctions between good and bad, pleasing and displeasing, and so on. The Lord, the Supersoul, having entered the collective and individual consciousness of the living entities, knows the heart of everyone. Therefore, when a sincere soul aspires for spiritual perfection, the Lord frees him from material bondage and arouses his propensity to serve the Lord of Vaikuntha. Love of Godhead flourishes in the variegated flavors of transcendental enjoyment. In ignorance, however, the conditioned soul considers himself the proper object of service and thus misunderstands the entire existential situation. Translation again. The supersoul enters the material bodies of the created beings, activates the mind and senses, and thus causes the conditioned souls to approach the three modes of material nature for sense gratification. So the entire purport is, as mentioned in the first line of the purport, a summary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's comment on the verse. So in the first paragraph, he explains how those who are liberated souls, they are not attracted by the allurements of the material world. Primarily because they are already engaged and absorbed in transcendental activities. So it means that actually the Lord being present as Super Soul throughout the entire material creation is directing the wanderings of all living entities, and the choice is ours to either engage in material activities of sense gratification or to choose activities of a spiritual or transcendental nature. Whole Vedic culture is arranged in such a way as to favor, as to facilitate the conditioned living entity to make the right choice. Primarily through the process of good association. Which of course brings us always back to the very important theme that underlines Vedic communities, the opportunity for the conditioned soul to engage in various devotional activities and thus remain protected from the otherwise practically speaking over empowering material energy. This is all, of course, explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Mogasha Mogakarvano Moga Jnana Vicetasa Rakshasim Masudim Vachaiva Mohinim Praktikim Sita. Those who take shelter of the Mohini Prakriti, external energy of the Lord, they are by nature destined to be failures in all of their attempts. One person probably is from India. His name is, I don't know if you know him, Rajanikanth. Does that ring a bell? You know him? Huh?
He's an actor.
He's an actor? Maybe it's another Rajanikanth. India has a big population, so people have the same name sometimes. This person I'm referring to wrote a book entitled Farewell to Modernism. I didn't read the book. I read some sections of the book. Farewell to Modernism, and then there's a subtitle to it, something to the effect of how modern day so-called advanced civilization has brought us not to what most people consider as evolution. We have become evolved, but he specifically speaks about and explains in his book actually that rather we have devolved. There's evolution and devolution. One of our devotees wrote a book on this. Normally, when we think of the theory of evolution, but actually from a Krishna conscious point of view or from a Vedic point of view, there is, especially considering the overall picture of the creation in Kali Yuga, we're not evolved, we're rather going in the opposite direction. So it means that actually in the name of, that is how powerful is material energy, in the name of advancement and evolution, and this can be easily demonstrated and observed actually by anyone who has a little sense of observation. The general Hare Krishna. The general condition and situation in the world has become extremely deteriorated, isn't it? Uh, Largely because we have followed this path, which is being described here, of and it is being promoted on a large scale as well, of simply giving in and following the uh, allurements of the body or the allurements of sense gratification. And we could actually conclude very easily, and we should also, as devotees who have this knowledge of Krishna consciousness, that the whole Prabhupada calls it the modern um, modern day experiment, something like this. Um, what we have been attempting to do, what modern man has been attempting to do in the last couple of 100 years, uh, has proven to be practically a total failure, isn't it? So, in other words, when we follow the uh, the path of uh, the sense gratification, bodily identification, independence, etc., all of the main slogans that are being propagated in modern day times, uh, then we end up with the kind of results that we are seeing today, which is very, uh, very destructive in so many ways. Prabhupada would actually directly explain how a whole modern civilization is a destructive civilization. Actually, he used the word killing civilization. So it cannot be otherwise because um, unless and until one begins to develop what we term as Krishna consciousness, unless we begin to experience param tilistva nivartate, a higher understanding or a higher taste in life, then we are forced by nature. That's the most unfortunate and regretful condition of modern day society, of those who are devoid of this basic knowledge of Krishna consciousness, and therefore those who are especially more uh, advanced or elevated in consciousness, our acharyas in particular, who are giving us these different insights through the purports of the Bhagavatam especially, then their primary focus and primary uh, endeavor is to bring people out of this very miserable condition of life. And therefore, I mean, temples, as we have, are absolutely essential. They are meant to be places where there are all types of activities and opportunities for people to hear about and to uh, take up activities in relation to the spiritual realm, spiritual reality. And Srila Prabhupada, of course, that was his, we could say, primary goal and objective by establishing all of these temples and by also emphasizing the need and the importance to distribute these transcendental literatures. It's, I think in a few days, yeah, on the 29th of this month is again Bhadra Purnima. Seems to happen around this time every day, or at least it did yesterday. Bhadra Purnima is on the 29th of September this year. And I had the opportunity a few days back to participate in a short, 1 hour presentation. Some of you might have seen it. Yes. Where they showed a short video about the Srimad Bhagavatam finally being delivered in the Antarctica. Yeah. Remember you saw that? Yeah. Very short, but actually quite nicely presented. That up until last year, especially for the Bhadra, they call it the Bhadra campaign, they were discussing how the Bhagavatam is practically on all the continents except Antarctica. So the devotees being devotees, they took up the challenge of actually bringing the sets of Bhagavatam, and it was, I think, there was only a few days left, and somehow, through some kind of, ultimately through Krishna's arrangement, because it's not at all easy to physically go there. Usually it takes, one has to plan and one has to coordinate so many things and whatnot. But somehow Krishna arranged that some person in South America somewhere who had some connection with Antarctica, when he came to know about it, he made arrangements so that, so this is very much the meant to be. This was actually Prabhupada's main focus, to make this knowledge available, so that people, Prabhupada in one lecture was telling, I've tried to do something on a small scale, and he would explain, at least now, he was talking about people in the Western countries especially, at least now you have some knowledge. At least there's something. You have got the books, basically. Because this knowledge was very rare, especially outside of India. And of course, even in India, unless there are dedicated and qualified individuals who are living that philosophy and then actively pursuing the distribution of this knowledge and able to inspire others to take it up, then the knowledge remains somewhat dormant. So this is this particular chapter, is dealing with how that is the situation for the majority of conditioned souls, and most of them actually don't even have access to this knowledge. That is unfortunate. What is also unfortunate is that even those who have access, even those who have access to the knowledge, are not always taking full advantage uh, of these literatures, and we need to constantly um, analyze and scrutinize our uh, our situation, both individually and in terms of the society. How how are we doing in terms of fulfilling, the mandate given by our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada? Uh, that unless that becomes very much an integral part, and if not the essential aspect of our individual lives, then we will fall short of actually attaining the goal. So the goal is twofold, isn't it? As we are often reminded by Srila Prabhupada in the verse that he quotes quite a bit, especially directed towards those born in the land of Bharat, that our first and foremost responsibility is to continue striving ourselves to develop this Krishna consciousness. And the second duty and responsibility is to question ourselves. Are we doing what we can do? Are we doing sufficiently for the greater cause of bringing Krishna consciousness to others? And of course, Prabhupada gave us so many detailed and specific ways to do this. And unless devotees are actively pursuing and trying to understand uh, more clearly, the different ways that Srila Prabhupada has shown and the various instructions he has given, then if that is actually not an ongoing effort on our part, then definitely we will also fall short of the desired goal. Um, so of course, um, when I was in recently in California, because I was staying with Sri Ram Prabhu's brother, Sri Krishna Purushottam Prabhu. And because he has a Goshala, and a very nice Goshala, it's like practically a miracle actually that that in a place like North America, like there are 25, he has 25 gear cows there, and people, of course, from Indian origin, uh, when they come to know, they they come quite practically every day. There's people coming just to have darshan, or people are sometimes doing pujas or things like that. And inevitably, he encourages them to take a set of the Bhagavatam also, because that is, uh, as we recite every day, that's our very means of conquest. So, people who are, especially in America, from India, um, uh, I met such individuals. They are extremely grateful that my India has come to America. My cows, my cows have come to not only actually in California is quite pleasant, I mean, weather-wise, uh, but even in a place like Canada, where we have our community, which is, about 4 hours north of Vancouver. Vancouver is like close to close to Seattle, actually, if you know a little bit your geography. Seattle, Seattle is on the border, close to the border of the U.S. and Canada, and Vancouver is maybe 1 hour north, I guess, of Seattle, approximately. And then another 4 hours, 4 hours north is where we have our Sharanagati, and we have deer cows there also. Of course, they need special attention in the wintertime because Canada is Canada. But we also have deer cows, one family in Ontario who have actually deer cows. And as a matter of fact, uh, I think their main bull traveled from Ontario to Vancouver uh, to mate actually with our deer cow, Surabi, who was alone for a couple of years. And so that particular bull stayed for about 6 months, then went back. And now we have Surabi gave birth to a calf. That was last year. He's growing up. Um, uh, these are, uh, we could say, uh, yeah, small examples. It's like um, it's still in, we're still in a very, very extremely early stage of actually helping to manifest uh, various aspects of our Vedic culture, and this is one of the most important aspects as well. uh, the presence uh, of cows and devotees who are uh, like Sri Krishna Purushottam Prabhu, completely dedicated in trying to involve more and more people, actually. Um, and it's slowly, gradually happening. And that is part of what all of us uh, need to be doing. Because the more we do this, the more we absorb ourselves in such activities and such projects, which are central actually to our Vedic culture, then um, we gradually lose interest in other mundane material type of activities and projects. So that's part of understanding uh, the mission of Krishna consciousness, and in this way becoming, becoming protected from the otherwise, practically speaking, over empowering material energy, which is constantly alluring the conditioned souls. So, especially, these things are happening outside of India on a small scale, but they're happening. So they need to be happening on a larger scale as well. And so, yeah, actually, we have we're getting some feedback. I would say positive um, feedback of devotees who are spending regular time in reading this book that we've been promoting quite a bit, speaking about Varnasana, because we were recommending that at least once a week people should come together to discuss and see how they can slowly and gradually implement. So this is essentially the message being conveyed here throughout this entire chapter, that these are the two ways in which the living entity, uh, conditioned soul has to be active in some way. And of course, the desired way to be engaged, even though one may still be conditioned, is in activities that will gradually help one to no longer be conditioned, isn't it? Otherwise, one is, as the word or the expression is given, one will remain in nityabadha, eternally conditioned uh, by these forces of material energy. I'll read the verse again. Um, this was text number 4. The super soul enters the material bodies of the created beings, activates the mind and senses, and thus causes the conditioned souls to approach the three modes of material nature for sense gratification. Any thoughts or questions?
But as you are saying, it needs to be happening in a larger scale as it is happening in the Western countries right now.
Yes.
Setting up the Goshala and those things. So how do we compare it to India? What should we do in India as we stay in the cities?
What we should do in India?
Yes.
Well, what we should do in India is the same that we should do outside of India. Um, it's not just a question of Goshala. Actually, the very word Goshala is in itself controversial or misunderstood. Generally, Goshalas are for um, the retired cows because they cannot graze so easily, so we're we're so far removed from what is meant to be the norm, what is meant to be the real way of living, that uh, even some simple things we are not knowing and not understanding, uh, especially in the context of cows, where we get a little glimpse, we get a much clearer understanding uh, when we go to a place like Patmela in border Gujarat and Rajasthan, because they have large areas where the cows are all the time out pasturing. Uh, I mean, when we understand that the main uh, activity and the main uh, economy is meant to be connected with cows and man, and because of course we don't understand that in modern day society, even as devotees we don't understand that, then we end up having uh, situations which are far from being ideal. Vast amounts, I mean, for the Vedic culture to be properly established, and for us to properly take care of cows, large amounts of land are needed because main activity of cows is actually to graze. They are out. They live uh, in Asian countries, especially. It's quite natural. They will be outside, um, and they need a lot of space to fulfill. Their dharma is to actually uh, to be in pasture, to uh, to walk on the land, to graze, uh, and in this way to keep the soil healthy by that activity. And because of our short-sightedness, uh, even ourselves as devotees, we see. I mean, the materialistic people, especially, they they equate, isn't it? They equate cows to milk. We tend to do that as devotees as well, but that is uh, completely wrong. Um, um, we there's a whole way of developing communities where the main activity will be connected uh, with both, you know, caring of cows, which is meant to be on um, large pasturing ground, and where the main activity is also connected with producing various necessities for our daily living, which is not only food but also clothing, isn't it? So that was Gandhi's appearance or birthday is coming up, I think, in a few days. As a matter of fact, on that day, I was supposed to leave for Mayapur just well, it's been changing 3 times already, but on the second, I think is Gandhi's birthday, which is the national one of the 3 national holidays, I think, in India, in Bharat. And so on that day, I'll be in Kamyaban. We're having Sri Prabhu is having official opening of Varnashram College. I think it's the second time we're opening it.
Maybe expand on the
No, he has some plan, which is good actually, because from the government side, we have to be innovative. Government side, they have different programs. I don't know the details of what exactly he's planning to do, but it's connected with what government also is promoting, that people develop different skills in connection with, what Gandhi referred to as different cottage industry, for example.
He's inviting some government officials.
Yeah, some government officials will be there, and we're trying to get the, our GBC chairman to attend also. So this is something very practical that can best be done if we have some land somewhere, isn't it? Majority of people, that's how they're going to be engaged in terms of different types of manual uh, work, and it's something that I've not looked into it in detail, but various governments. Small example, like in Switzerland, one of our devotees, I was very happy to hear how it's a government program. They actually pay an individual to be 2 or 3 years on a farm, and to become a farmer.
Certified farmer.
Yeah, a qualified, certified farmer. Otherwise, in Switzerland, you cannot buy land unless you have your farmer's certificate, which is interesting, which is good. Uh, so, of course, a lot of things that are done in the name of farming today, as we know, is not in line with Vedic uh, culture. But here is one example of, government is paying an individual to spend X amount of time to learn various, there's so many things connected actually with farming and cow care at the same time. So he just started this project. That's why I have a hard time contacting him. He's not with his cell phone all the time. So these are especially connected with cows and connected with the land. Uh, our own devotees, we need more devotees who are involved in some of these kind of activities and projects, helping to promote. And some of our own devotees uh, should be taking up, not 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 those who are doing book distribution as their main service. They should continue doing that. But those who are not involved in active preaching in the cities, these are some of the activities that they could be taking up. So that's in response to your question, what we should be doing here in India. We should be doing what we should be doing everywhere, actually, is promoting in whatever way we can activities that will bring us ultimately closer to what Vedic culture is meant to be. And unless we understand what that culture is meant to look like, unless we are also willing uh, to devote our time and our attention uh, to helping that to happen, then it's going to be just in the books, nice descriptions in the books, but it won't be a reality in our lives. So in different places there are some many people in the what they call the Bay Area in California, where Sri Krishna Purushottam Prabhu is located, are very very inspired actually, and they're supporting in different ways. Now they're looking for a larger piece of land. They need larger land. Uh, Good chances of getting another 20 acres of land close by. We went to see one land actually where many people from India, some have been there for the last 30, 40 years, and some have invested in land quite some years back. So one person has 20 acres of land, which he's ready to uh, not to give that 20 acres, but he's allowing to grow grass actually for the cow, which is very important. And just across the street from that 20 acres of land we were visiting, uh, it's a plantation of walnuts. I'd never seen a plantation of walnuts in one tree. They had just harvested actually, so all of the shells, walnut, right? Uh, all of the shells were on the ground because the trees were maybe 8 years old or something. It takes 1 or 2 years. But on one tree, on one tree, there's between 3,000 and 4,000 walnuts. I didn't count them.
In Europe also, we have seen in the Krishna Vidya farm, there is one walnut tree.
Okay.
Just opposite to the temple. So very huge.
I mean, I was amazed, it's like from one seed you get 4,000 seeds. 4,000 fruits. And each one of them there's a seed. So it's like That's just a small example. I mean, Prabhupada speaks about banyan tree, which was that whole story there. That nature provides in abundance. I mean, beyond what we can even imagine. And we're otherwise, materialistic people are otherwise busy trying to make, profit in other ways. But the natural produce is there actually in nature if we properly take care of it. So anyway, there are still some of those walnuts that we were sampling, and original walnuts. They were quite tasty. And once they set it up, then they have this drip irrigation, and it's just like there's not much care. It just comes, And I think the trees are there maybe up until 15 years or something. Of course, I mean, uh, that's also like cash crop oriented, which is not ideal, but it just shows how nature provides unlimitedly practically.
Maharaj, on this topic, actually,
Yeah,
human resources shortage must be there in those countries. Definitely, population density is very less, and we have very large resource of human beings, or human population.
yes, but misdirected.
Yes. So, can we have some like we sometimes send pujaris from here to the temples there?
Yeah,
So can we have some trained manpower on the farming side, which can go and work in these farms for a few months and come back for some marriage like that? Can it work out? So,
can train people from here,
yeah,
go to India,
yeah. I mean, from India to those countries and then
from India, yeah.
serve there on these projects. And
Maybe except Canada now.
there's a churning going on in Canada. I think probably it's all for the good. I think, whatever.
Yeah.
So this are one arrangement in case we can like we can train some manpower here and then go to those countries. Stay.
Yeah, definitely there can be some. Well, it's already has been there or is there what we call cultural exchange kind of programs, and we well, when I was in Europe recently, a few of our devotees, I mean, Vasadam Prabhu, Madhava Prabhu, which I would be coming also somehow that
Yeah.
happens. But yeah, we need uh, this type of exchange so that whatever knowledge and experiences here in India can be introduced there, and vice versa, whatever. Yeah, some of that can be there, but I would say we need to do a lot more even here, although we have such a huge population.
Yes.
And in many ways, because we have such a huge population, unfortunately, it's not properly directed. And that's where, we say Brahminical culture comes in, because it is especially the responsibility of Brahmanas, those who are more Brahminically inclined, to actually uh, speak about these subject matters and do in such a way that more people can understand that we should take up some of these activities, etc. like that.
It's happening in Africa because a lot of corporates are entering into Africa, buying large chunk of land actually farm,
Right.
and they're taking farmers from India
Yeah, yeah.
because they're already knowledgeable about the cultivation of things.
Yeah, but unfortunately, most of these undertakings and initiatives are used, motivated for their own purposes.
Commercial.
Yeah, and what ends up happening is that people end up being exploited. Also, I mean, our own farmers here in India have been led on the wrong path. They've been deviated for the last so many decades through this whole what we call green revolution that was introduced in the last century, which is actually is a total failure because it has produced the opposite effect ultimately by destroying our soil and so many negative effects of that. So, which comes back to the same point that we as devotees and we as a society, we have all of this knowledge and information, but unless we uh, have individuals and help to facilitate that more individuals take up not only the knowledge, but actually apply that knowledge in day-to-day living condition, then we will, again, we will fall short of what we are meant to do, both individually and collectively. Okay, we can close for now. Jai Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Prabhupada ki
Jai. This Bhakti Radha Swami Maharaj ki
Jai.
Nice flowers. One of these should be given to, where's our Tamal? Still here or he left?
He left after school.
He left, huh? For school. This is school. He went to school, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, anyways, you can bring a garland for him. David garland. You can wear it for now. Then you can give it to him. Yeah. We have a garland. We had one the other day.
Catch me.
You would have gone like this. Who else? For our ladies in the kitchen. Kitchen department, most important. I'll keep this one for later. Okay. Okay. Our daily bouquet of flowers. Thank you, sir. This is local. Local. Where is it from?
This is